Welcome, welcome, welcome. Today we are going to do commenting on your code. So just for reference today, today's class is Thursday, 2/16/23. We are doing commenting on your code. I'll get this video uploaded very quickly after today. But one of the things we're going to do is we are going to write comments today. And then we are going to do assignment 13, commenting on your code with you. It looks like this. You can find it, obviously. Whoops, I just hit edit picture. Give me a second here. But you can find it back here on your materials page, currently over here to the right there, but always it's buried in your assignment folder. So these are some of the things I am working in period 2 today, which is computer science 2. As we do this, you may be in a different period, so just adjust all your notes to your period. If I'm referencing period 2, obviously I'm really referencing your period. Coming back then, I'll put that, come here. Coming to here, coming to here. All right. So again, the total project that we're working on is JS-2 project, writing simple scripts. So this is our second JavaScript project that we're doing. You should have had this setup all done as of yesterday. I think I'm up to like 95% of you have got that done. And the majority of you that don't have that done are students that are having some attendance issues right now that we're working with them through guidance to see if we can solve those issues here. But this whole project, the entirety of this project is going to cover these things. So when we get this project done, this is what you're tested over. This is what you're going to have to know. This is how you're going to have to get an A on that big, huge summative test over JS2 project. And that's going to be various ways to include JavaScript in your websites. That's simple. We talked about that. There are 2 ways to include JavaScript in your website. Just a quick review. If you look here, we are using the external way, which is script source equals, and our file here is main.js, close script that we place that in the head. That is the main way that we're going to use because it's the most organized way, and there's some security reasons why we do that. But again, there's also the internal way. So if I come here to like my body, I go to the end of my line, and I can sit here, and I can just do some scripting where I just type the script tag like that, and come down here, and then I could do my JavaScript just right here in my file. This won't show up on my page, but I can throw in, let's just do like another alert. And I'm just going to alert script. I'll put the text string in there.
Thank you, everyone. The target is complete. Students will be back in class.
This is called scripting internally. Waiting for the announcements to get done. Apologize.
Thank you, and have a great rest of the day.
Thank you. Yep, stay out of those tardy sweeps, Bruins. All right, so this is just an example of how to do internal scripting. It'll work the same. So if I go ahead and load this web page up, let me go ahead and do that. Boom. So I'm going to go right click, open with live server. We'll see it pop up here, one of my screens. Oh, good. So there's my hi there, which should not actually be hi there. It should be, I need to fix that. There's test time. Oh man, I am definitely doing, I copied the wrong folder over. I'll fix that later for this class. It doesn't really matter at this point which file I'm working in, but I should have copied JS2 over instead of JS1. But you get the idea. I will work on that here in a second, but let's kill that. Anyways, in fact, actually, I just want to do that now. So I'm going to open folder here. Let me get out of here. I'm going to get out of this JS1. I'm going to go up, and I'm going to steal my JS2 file is what I need. So I need to grab this, copy it, cancel. Again, you can scrim through this by using the error forward key. And then, whoops. Getting a good insight into my buried computer logic here today. Nope. Period 2. Go to Schmitz. Where am I at right here? Right click. And of course, it didn't save my paste. So I've got to go back here. Here. Grab that file from here. Copy. Up. Up again. We are in period 2 now. And paste. There we go. Now I can kill you. Now I'm going to go file, open folder. I feel like refreshing that might be a smart boost. We'll go here, JS2, select file. Let me wait patiently. All righty. Now we're back at it. Sorry about that. But we're back here to main. So again, I've got my main, just my single alert in my main, and then this is my correct index. Again, I'm working in JS2 project now. I'm going to kill these comments out here. We're going to talk about those in a second. But essentially, this is a perfectly completed setup of your JS-2. So you should have your JS2 folder. You should have 3 files here. You'll notice that I went ahead and just opened my JS2 folder. I don't have everything open. It gets a little crazy when we have like our VSE1, our VSE2, our VSE3, our final project in there, all that stuff in there, and our JS1. You start stacking up a lot of index.htmls and a lot of main.js files all over the place, and it gets real messy. So when I'm working in this project alone, I like to just open just that folder. And again, so you can do that by going File, Open Folder, and selecting just your JS2 and open it up. I would recommend doing that. Okay, let's get back to the meat and potatoes here. Again, so we're going to do ways to include JavaScript in your web pages. We're also then going to do the basic syntax of JavaScript statements, which I'm going to talk about right now. So if I go to my main.js, this is a JavaScript statement. Okay, it is a single line. It's a single line of code right here, and it's terminated with a semicolon. Okay, so what you have, you come down here. What is a JavaScript statement? This is, again, what we're logging today. What is a JavaScript statement? JavaScript programs are lists of individual instructions, which are also called algorithms, that we refer to as statements. So this is a JavaScript statement, is a single statement in our main.js. So there's only one statement here, but this technically is a program, a JavaScript program named main.js. It only has one thing to do right now, but we can do a list of other stuff here. It says here, you terminate each statement with a semicolon. So you can see it stops right there. That is the end of that statement. And then what you need to know is it is good practice and for readability to place each terminated statement on a separate line. So it's like line, like this is statement 1 with a semicolon. This is statement 2 with a semicolon. So I could put another line. I could put like document.write. And I just want to write, here is another statement like that. Let me go to the end of the line, terminate it with a semicolon. So I've terminated it with a semicolon right there. I'm going to close my file tree so you can see a little bit better. So boom, there it is. Now I have 2 statements in my program. If I run this on my web page, so if I right click here and do open with live server, that document.write means it's going to go to my document and it's going to write. There's my alert. It's going to write, here is another statement. Notice that it's doing it above my purple right here, because again, we go back to order of events. Once it starts, it reads this line, 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 reads this line. Then it has to go to my JavaScript. So when it goes to my JavaScript, it comes back to here and it does this line and it does this line. Once it's reached the end here, it goes back. Then it's printing this right here, okay? And because in our style sheet that we did, we edited our H1 right here. We made it purple. If I go back to my index, this Andrew Schmitz JS2 right there. So I'm giving you a lot of information, what we've done over the last couple of days. This is just a quick review. You can scrim through all of this on this video if you need to by just pressing the arrow key. Every time you tap it, it'll go forward 5 seconds. So you can kind of scrim through. You can also hit the back arrow key. It'll go back 5 seconds. Now, let's get back to the nitty and gritty here. So if I come back here, one thing I do want you to notice, though, is I can go to my main, and we theoretically can take this second statement right here. I could take this, and I can put it on this same line right there. It's still going to terminate right there. So I'm going to bring the class into this discussion here. Why is this a bad, guys, why is this a bad way to do this? Why is it bad to do all my JavaScript, like instead of doing them on separate lines, instead of adding statements to separate lines? Notice I've got 2 statements there all on line 1. Why is that a bad way? It's extremely hard to read, okay? The computer doesn't have, like the computer's not impatient and the computer doesn't get a little loopy there. The computer's going to read this kind of in chronological order or more hierarchical order. It's going to read it from left to right. It's going to keep going. And every time that there's a semicolon, it's going to terminate that statement and go to the next one. But as a programmer, as a human, we need to see this a little bit more analytically. Okay. It may seem like we're dumber than a computer, but we actually have more processing power and we need to bring in more sensories to this. So that's why we like to actually make this break down into 2 statements on 2 separate lines. It's going to help us find this stuff pretty good. So one of the things that I want to do is I want to make sure if we're going to have 2 statements, we're going to have 2 statements like that. So now I've got alert.document title, which is alerting me to this right here. If I hit refresh, there's my alert. I'm going to hit OK. Here comes my statement. This then is coming from the body of my index, that H1 that's in my index. It's coming after the fact. The only reason it's on a separate line is because the H1 element also not only makes things big and bold, but it also separates things from the text like a paragraph tag would. Otherwise, it would be right up here written in line just after it. So we kind of have that going for us. So hopefully we have a little bit of understanding of what a JavaScript statement is. You should also note that JavaScript statements, a whole bunch of them, make up an algorithm. That algorithm makes up the program. The program in this instance is main.js. So that's kind of just some syntax, some logic, and some thought processes for you to think about. All righty, let's go back then. We're going to go back to our notes. What's the next thing that we need to do here? How do we add comments to our code? How do we add comments to your code? You can see here, here is all the information on how you can add comments to your code. I'm going to go through it with you really quickly. But the first thing you need to know is comments are designed to be ignored by the browser / the interpreter, and for the sole benefit of anyone who may be reading the code. And I'm going to make sure you understand for the benefit of that. All right. So after I've read that code to you, let's talk up to the class again. Why exactly do we use comments? Why do we use comments in our code? It's for the human. It's not for the computer, right? The browser doesn't give a crap about your comments. But if we put stuff in there that the browser doesn't need to see, it's going to register as an error and it's going to cause lots of problems. But what you need to understand is we put comments in there so that we can understand the logic. When you get here, all the stuff we've done here are really kind of mini projects and mini programs. But when you write a massive program, they get really, really big and you need to like know what your logic is. Additionally, one of the things that I like to do when I'm programming is I will like go through and do logics and I'll put then comment syntax around it to just have the browser ignore that stuff while I'm still trying to work it out in my head. Okay, so that's a good way just to keep myself organized. More importantly, too, when we start doing variables, which we're going to do this lesson, variables, for lack of a better way of saying it, are anything that we create that stores data. Okay, so I can do a variable like Karaya. I can name it Karaya, and I can say Karaya then is going to store all of this data for me. What that allows me to is in my program, then I can call Karaya. When I call Karaya, I'm not calling just her. I'm calling all the data that's stored there. And maybe that could be like billions of points of data. And what that allows me to do is to have a lot more efficient coding that kind of breaks down. There's other reasons we do it, but we don't have to sit there and write billions and billions of points of data every single time I'm calling Karaya. I could just call Karaya. The computer knows what all that stuff is, can go get it, and knows what it is. And that's why we have a variable. The issue then, though, is if we put comments in there, we need to be able to explain what those variables are. Okay, so we need to sit there and say, if I'm calling Karaya, this is the data that she stands for. This is the data that she's representing, or the data that variable is representing. It's good to put in the code. Because I can tell you right now, I have several projects that I want to show to you guys, but I'm struggling with because I wrote them like 3-4 years ago, and I didn't do a very good job commenting on that code. So since I didn't comment on that code, what I literally have to do is I have to go through line by line and figure out what I was doing. Okay, I understand the code, but I have to figure out what I was doing in there, why things work the way they are. When we get into a lot of programs that we'll learn how to traverse our code, we'll be able to kind of jump around in different parts of our project and kind of access different elements and access different things. And our comments are going to be the things that are going to help us do that. Even in this classroom, you'll be working on something, having a great day. You'll be in what I call the code flow. We'll be writing like maybe 20, 30 lines of code here in the classroom, all good. and you're about to finish up your project, but the bell rings and you go home for the weekend. And when you come back on Monday, if you've not put comments in there, 9 times out of 10, students have to like delete all of that and kind of start over again because they're very confused on what they were doing, even though it's good code, even though it's good practice. So we want to make sure that we have those comments in there. I don't know if I talked about this with this class before, but just recently there was a high school, I think in North Carolina. Did I talk about this with this class? So in North Carolina, there was a high school that was renovated about 5 years ago. When it was renovated, they paid buku bucks to have this completely automated light system put in. And so they had this completely automated light system put in. And it was working great. But then one day, their building got struck by lightning. The system got fried. Okay. They rebooted it. It came back up, but every light in the entire complex was on. The gym lights, the stadium lights, the hallway lights, the classroom lights, and they couldn't turn them off. Well, they had a major problem. The company that did that kind of went bankrupt. And so after they did the renovation, they went out of business, and they called them, but that company didn't exist anymore. So they had to bring in outsiders to come in that didn't develop, and they had to figure out how to fix it. And when they came in and they started looking at the code, they go, this company, the person who developed this had no comments in the code. And they said, we can figure it out, but it's going to take us a year or two to figure it out. So it might be smarter for you to just buy a new system. So they literally just had to kind of take that whole system out, spend hundreds of thousands of dollars on a new system, on the installation of that system, the repurposing, everything, the reconnecting, the retraining. But more importantly, they spent 4 years. Think about that. They spent 4 years with every light on for 24 hours a day. They cost their county and their state hundreds of thousands of dollars a year by doing nothing. Okay, so that's what they kind of got in trouble with. Additionally, think about it. It seems weird, but think about how many times your teachers have dimmed the lights in the classroom or just turned the lights off to let you guys watch a video or something. And just in this school year alone, for 4 years, they were never able to do that. They had lights on, every single light on in the building for, it's kind of just a weird and stupid kind of situation. All right, ramble over. Let's get back on task. All righty. Here we are. Again, if you don't want to hear all that, you can scrim through that by just hitting the arrow key. All right, let's go through. So we know that comments are designed to be ignored by the browser/interpreter and for the sole benefit of anyone who may be reading the code. Now, in JavaScript, we can do single line JavaScript comments by placing double / before the statement. All right, so it looks like that. All right, so here's an example, double / This is a JavaScript comment example. All right, so if I come here, I can come up here and I can go, here is a JavaScript. Here is a JavaScript comment. Whoa, sorry. So here's a JavaScript comment. So I've written that out right now. Right now, it is not actually a comment. This is actually going to be an error. You can see it actually registering over here. I now have 4 errors in my main because the computer doesn't know how to handle this. It's not written with correct syntax. There's spaces in there. It's a big mess, and the computer's very confused. But I can easily just come here to the front of the line and do a double ////, and you get it where it converts it to a comment. You'll notice that mine turned green. So now that is an official comment right there. Here is a JavaScript comment. The issue that you have here with this way, this is for a single line comment. This is for a single line comment in JavaScript. Okay, so what that means is if I come and put my cursor at the end and I hit enter and start typing again, you'll notice the errors are back and this is not green. So what I would have to do is come to the front of this line again and throw in a single or throw in a double / again to turn the next line into a comment. I love this feature. A lot of people get mad about it because like I don't want to put a double / in front of every single line that I type for comment wise. I want to do that. And I agree with you. That's a stupid way of doing it if you're writing a lot of information. But I'm going to show you how to fix that here in a second when we talk about multi-line commenting. But single line is great because it's a way to just turn things off in your code. If you've got a method that you've written and it's not working, but 99% of the other stuff is working, instead of deleting it, you can just go up and throw 2 forward slashes in front of it, turn it into a comment, and it'll skip it on your code. You know what I mean? And then you can just leave it there and then go fix it later. Okay, so that's a really, really neat way to just turn things on and off in your code to create, like, skip this, don't think of this as JavaScript, don't think of this as something I want you to do. Okay, and that's all you need to know there. So it says here, you need to prefix each line with a // in JS. That's for single line commenting. This is also a good way to pause some code, which I just talked about right there. So if you look, I'm now here on the notes. This is a good way to pause some code while you are working out a problem or testing on some logic. So right there. All right, now let's talk about multi-line commenting in JavaScript. This can be started with /*, then terminating the statement with */*. Now, it sounds complicated, but it just looks like this. This is, you got /*. This comment can span multiple lines without the need to mark up every individual line. And you've got */ right there. So if I come back over here, I'm going to kill this comment here. And what I can do is I can write a bunch of lines of code. I can write a bunch of stuff here. I can even put spaces in, and I can have a whole bunch of lines of code, which is really useful. But I want them to go away. All right. All I have to do is go to the front of it that I want to do. And you always start with the slash. So I'm going to go /*, which is Shift-8. And you'll notice that when I did that, it went ahead and it made all that green. You got to terminate it, though, because look if I move this statement. Look if I take this statement here, line 2, that I wrote, and I bring it down here to the bottom. Notice how it turns into a comment as well. So now I don't want that to be a comment. I want that to actually be code again. So I've got to actually terminate it by going to the end of my comment and doing, again, */. Now you'll notice this is all comments. And then we're back to, let me just do that. There you go. So we've got a statement here. We have comments for like 7 lines. And then we have a statement here. And that's kind of how this works. Okay. So that's multi-line commenting right there. So that's looking pretty good. All that is good and set up. I do want to emphasize some people are getting in this really bad habit today because a lot of the browsers have gotten really smart and they're really just ignoring anything. If it's a JS file or it knows it's supposed to be looking at scripting, it goes in and ignores anything that's not JavaScript. So some people do come in and they want to do the HTML scripting, which we'll talk about here in a second, which is just, well, actually, let me just talk about the HTML right now. We'll come in here and we'll go, it says here, we'll go back to our index. So I'm going to go to my index right here. I'm in my body, and I want to put a comment here. If I put a comment here, here is a comment. And again, I am in my index.html. If I just type it like that, when I run my web page, okay, refresh, okay, you'll see that it actually shows up. Here's another statement. That's because in my main, I've got this comment here, or I've got this statement. Let me take that out. I'll refresh my page again. Boom. So here's that's in my body, which is right here. This is my H1 in my body. It's big and purple because my style is saying H1 should be big and purple, or I should just say purple. I only have one alert, and that is the alert that pops up. But I have this word, here is a comment, that I just wrote here, and it showed up on my page. Here is a comment. I don't want comments to show up on my page. So again, I have to use HTML syntaxing, which I can come right here. How this works, we look at our notes. We add HTML comments by utilizing an open caret exclamation point and a double dash. And that looks like this. So you got open caret, or more specifically, the less than sign, exclamation point, dash, dash, This is an HTML comment example, dash dash, close caret, or more specifically, a greater than sign. So that's right there. So all I have to do is come right here to my index. I'm going to do, there's my less than sign. There's my exclamation point. I go dash dash. Take a look though. What's the problem again? I have not closed it. So therefore my body, everything after this is now a comment. Okay. So what I need to do is I still need to close this. I need to come up here, boom, and go just dash dash greater than sign. And now you'll notice that these turn back into the correct color right there. They are now back to actually being HTML code, not comments. So here is a comment. And then if I go look at my website, you will see that word or that sentence, here is a comment, has now disappeared. It did not show, it no longer shows up on my website. So that's kind of what I'm looking for. That's it, essentially. I know it's a lot of information for not much, but here's what you're doing for the assignment. So assignment 13 is here. Again, seems like a lot of information here, but not much you've got to really worry about. It says here, in your JS2 index.html, which is this, and your main.js, which is this, the following questions, answer the following questions using proper comment syntax. You can find those notes in the daily on 2/16/23. So if I go back to my daily, which is here, you'll see we're Thursday, 2/16/23. Okay, so you can find those in those notes. You can use this on the test as well. I also want you to remember, you can search the daily with Control F, search for 2/16/23. What that means is if I come back to the daily and I could do Control F, I get this pop-up window and I could search for 2/16. So I go 2-16. It's going to highlight every time I've said 2-16, which is right there at top. I can go back to 2:14, which is what we did before, and you'll see that it highlighted 2:14 right there as well. More specifically for your test, I can do commenting on your code, and it'll jump me to right where we're doing that commenting on your code. And so there are two references there. One's there. I can use the arrow key to jump between them. So it'll search the entire document for those so you can find your notes very, very quickly with this. All right, so that's one thing I just want to show you, but let's go back to the assignment. So you can search the document with Control F, search for 2/16/23, or commenting on your code. That's not really helpful right now, but let's say this is a week or two from now and you haven't done this assignment yet, and we have notes from 2/17, 2/18, 2/19, 2/20, and you can't really find it. You can just do a Control F for commenting on your code, and it'll take you to that portion of the daily for you. Now, once you have answered the questions, remember, you're going to answer them in your index.html and your main.js. You're going to submit a Microsoft Word document with screenshots of the questions and complete answers you placed using correct HTML and JavaScript content commenting in your syntax. So I'll need two screenshots, one from your index, one from your main. And this is how I do it. What I did is I came here and I just copied these questions. So I went Control C, copied. This first two questions are in the body of your index.html of your JS. Write the questions and complete answers to these questions with comments. These should not show up on your running site, and there should be no registered errors. So I'm going to go to my index. I'm going to take this comment out, and I'm going to paste those in, Control V. So those are my two questions. So I'm in the body section of my index. I copied those two questions, and I pasted them into my body of there. Now, right now, they're not comments. They're actually showing up on my page. Okay? But what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually come to the front of this line, and I'm going to do 1 period space. And I'm going to come here, and I'm going to go 2 period space, because that's question 1 and 2. I'm going to come to the end of this line. I'm going to hit enter, enter, enter. And I'm going to go right here. I'm going to tab, and I'm going to go, here is my answer to question 1. I'm going to go to the end of this line. Boom, enter, enter. Here is my answer to question 2. All right. And again, this is showing up on my web page, which I don't want it to do. And it's doing it. It's starting up here kind of in the 0, 0 and printing to the right. Now it's wrapping because we have this meta up here that's saying wrap it. But if I come over, you kind of see how it grows, but it's just printing that way because we've done no structuring with it. We've done no styling with it. But I don't care. I don't want that stuff up there. All I have to do for HTML is I just have to turn, once I get it all done, I come right here and what do I do? For HTML. Yep. So we're going to do an open caret. Whoops, sorry, I'm on the wrong Control Z here. So I'm going to come put my cursor right here. I just have to do open caret, exclamation point, dash, dash, and notice how it all turned to comments. But what's the problem here? How are you going to get dinged on the assignment? Because these are comments. Should these be comments? No. So I need to come down here then, and I need to go dash, dash, close caret right there. Then I'm just going to screenshot this and turn it in once I have it done. Are you following me? Now that is, though, for the HTML section. This next one, there are 6 questions that go in the JavaScript. So in the main.js, after your single line alert document title statement, write the questions and complete answers with proper comment syntax. There should be no errors. So I'm going to go right here. I should only have that one line. Again, I'm just going to grab all this and copy it. I'm going to come down like line 3 and paste it like that. So you can see it all there. I'm going to come down here and I'm going to go, here's an answer. I'm just going to space it out a little neat, right? I may not even need these spaces here. I go like this, boom. Boom, but I can use white spacing with some tabbing, right? So I'm going to just copy this here real quick just to save myself some time. So you kind of get the idea. But you notice we got lots of errors here. So if I go look, I've got 9+ errors listed here because these are not comments. Now, there's 2 ways I can do this. The easy way, or I should say the more challenging way, is for me to come here and I just throw in a / / right there, right? Turns that into a comment. / right there. Turns that into a comment. You see how that works? But the easier way, go back to my notes again and do multi-line commenting in JavaScript. So what do I do for multi-line JavaScripting? Yep, /*, which is Shift 8. So I'm going to Shift 8 like that. So I just did a / I can put a space there just to kind of clean it up. Now it's made everything there. You're going to get docked on this. Why would you get docked on this? Because what have I not done yet? I've not closed it. I've not terminated the comment. So I do need to come over here, right there. And now I need to do */, which clears that out. Does that make sense? Everybody understand kind of how this works? So it sounds complicated, but it's pretty simple. Well, you're going to actually answer the question. You're going to need to yeah, so you just need one at the very beginning, one at the very end, you know what I mean, of your entire structure. Now you'll notice here, this came up last semester. Do you see how in Visual Studio Code, how my text is not wrapping right here? So you can do, and that's just a window problem. That's not, but it's like, if I want, because I've got this kind of split up, I believe, let me check here. Yeah, Alt-Z will set it up so your stuff will wrap on your screen. You know what I mean? So it'll be, and you'll notice that if I adjust my window, which is the software running my, see how it go ahead and wraps for me? So repeat that to me. What was that? Alt-Z? You guys say Alt-Z for me? All right. And I'll go ahead and let me throw that in the notes. That seems like something you might want to put in the notes. So I'll put that, I'll just come down here, click, enter, and I'll say Control B, note, Alt Z will allow you to wrap code and comments in Visual Studio code. There you go. So now we've got that there, and I can turn it off. So again, if I hit Alt-Z again, it turns it off. Is everybody seeing that? All right, so that just helps you with the visualization. Look, ladies and gentlemen, this is what we're doing for the rest of the period today. Tomorrow, you'll have about 15, 20 minutes to work on it. Got it? And then I want to see them. I'm going to show them, put them up on the screen. We'll just see how different people approached it. Do you see that I'm still using white space appropriately with my indentations and stuff like that? So I do encourage you to do that as well. Make it visually appealing to yourself, okay? So it's easy to read this stuff. Excellent job. I appreciate it. I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording. Again, I know this video is a little bit long, but you can go ahead and scrim through quite a bit of that, okay? Quite a bit of the video.